Two timelines, one impossible mystery. Life is Strange Double Exposure follows Max Caulfield as she shifts between two timelines to solve a supernatural murder mystery after finding her friend Safi dead in the snow. In this parallel timeline, Safi is still alive and still in danger. With her new power, can Max solve and prevent the same murder? Buy Life is Strange Double Exposure, available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC. Rated M for mature.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a one-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
The new Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. Introducing the all-new Apple Watch Series 10, now available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generation, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
Thank you! I couldn't have completed this project without a little extra coffee. And since I brush with Colgate's Pro Series toothpaste with an expert-level whitening for a vibrant glow, I could show up to set each day camera ready and smiling wide.
Well, Kelly, looks like a little Colgate gave you a lot of confidence.
Colgate Optic White. Find it at all major retailers.
Hey all you heroes, hawks, heralds, crows, pirates, and wardens. Welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we unpack, discuss, and galaxy brain about all the lore behind the Dragon Age series.
We are so excited to bring you this podcast. Every episode, we'll be talking about a different topic in the Dragon Age universe, from character deep dives to exalted marches and elven gods. We will cover it all.
There will be spoilers. And always remember, swooping is bad.
Hello and welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we talk about Dragon Age and its lore. I'm one of your hosts, Austin, also known as Teacup.
And I'm your other host, Shelby or She-Cup.
And hello, we are here for our first episode where Veilguard is released.
That's
Last
right.
time we recorded, it was not released, and now it has been released, which you guessed it, we are doing first reactions. So this episode's going to be a little different, so why don't I just turn it over to Shelby so she can tell us how this is going to go.
Yeah, so we're just going to be chatting today. We obviously are going to be diving into the lore pretty soon, but probably for the first month, we're going to keep it low spoilers, very low key, like not major at all. Like all of the spoilers that we'll discuss without a warning will be anything that we already knew from like a trailer or whatever. And basically minor stuff from Act 1 of the game. And then we'll give a warning with anything major, anything like theorizing about what's next, like any of those kind of stuff. We will give a major spoiler about major events of the game, but the first half, especially our first reactions, are going to be no spoiler or low spoiler. So that's your warning for the day. And I think that we can kind of just jump right in. I will say, first off, I'm really enjoying the game. Neither of us at the time of this recording are done yet, although Austin will be very soon. I have really enjoyed the game so far. There are definitely some criticisms I have, but that's true for every game. But I'm really enjoying it so far, and I think it's a great game.
I totally agree, and I just have to say, this is the most I've enjoyed combat in a Dragon Age game.
Oh, yeah. I said this to you earlier. I said, I have never had fun in combat in Dragon Age until this game.
Yeah, definitely. Like the combat is just a lot of fun, and it makes you feel. I kind of wish that had been the combat of all the games for a lot of reasons, because I feel like there are so many like big battles in the other games, and this makes me feel like I am taking part on this battle. And this is a minor spoiler that I'm going to talk just briefly here. But we knew this happened. If you watched any promotional material, we got this. The siege of Wysop feels like an actual siege. More of like if we take like, the assault on Adamant Fortress from Inquisition. If we compare the Wysop mission and that mission, it's like night and day. And I felt like the direness of the siege, the like actual, like I felt more like it would actually be there to like have to run and dodge like the falling rubble and everything like that. Just really, really great attention to detail in the combat and the world.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. But I think before we get into anything that we just really enjoyed, the first thing I have to say is that you should immediately go read Tevinter Nights, because pretty much every single person from this book is in the game.
Or referenced.
Or referenced, yes. And like not... And also, I should also mention the short stories from the past few Dragon Age days. Like, absolutely. Like the twins, Noah and Neri from the Crows, they're in it. Or at least one of them is like basically shit-talking someone in the market. And there's a Templar from... I think it's from a short story named Tarquin. He's in it. Like, there are all kinds of random people from Tevinter Nights in these past couple years of short stories that just make appearances in the game. So definitely go read that extra material if you want more information about them.
And if you're like, I want to read like the least amount possible, please read Wigmaker and 8 Little Talons, because I think those are the most important short stories.
I would add Nev's story in there too.
Oh, yeah.
Because that, and this will be a little bit of a spoilery that I'm not going to talk about, but the main antagonist in that story is also in the game.
Yes, that is true. And so, yeah, but like, if you want to understand a lot of what goes on and when you go to Antiva, you need to read 8 Little Talents. So yeah, I guess we're going to just kind of discuss some things that we had. So again, like we said, these are going to be minor spoilerly-ish if you want to wait till you finish the game to listen to this episode. But I think you'll be pretty safe for most of the things we're going to talk about.
Yes, at least before the break. So one thing that like was really noticed first very early on is, I think when you go to the marketplace, I don't remember, one of the rook options is you can mention a dish called khachapuri, which is a Georgian dish. I think it's actually the national dish of Georgia, but it's basically a dish that features an egg in the middle of it, which I just find hilarious given all of the egg memes.
That's fair. I didn't catch that when I played through. I think you actually heard it one time when I was like playing and you were watching, and it's really funny. Just on that, like, food is such a big part of this game. Like, there are so many conversations about food and drink and just eating, which the foodie in me really loves.
So just a few things back to back before we talk about character creator. Why can Grey Wardens get the blighted condition? Pet peeve of mine.
I agree. I mean, it's probably like a balancing thing of like,
yeah,
whatever,
but still.
But you could do other things like, Antivan crows having resistant to poison and necrotic.
But like you could also just do like, I don't know. Yes. It annoyed me though. Another thing is that Charter is now operating Liliana's spy guild, which you can learn from Harding, and I just love that. And the fact that there's an elf named Elio when we literally just had a whole podcast about a Tevinter Magister named Elio pissed me off to no end.
Right. I
like,
remember.
How in the world would that even happen?
Yeah. And like, he's like a quest giver. He gives like one of the quests in Arlathan.
Yeah. Also, why is there not a bathroom in the lighthouse?
Okay. I think there's obviously some kind of bathroom in the lighthouse.
I would like to see where.
Okay, but did you see a bathroom in Skyhold?
Yes. I don't remember where.
I don't think there's a
I'm pretty sure there's like a tub in your room.
Okay. Well,
like a bathtub.
I don't think that's the case, but I'm going to just take your word for it because you know that game better than I do.
Whatever. Anyway, it bothers me. So another thing that I want to talk about is pronunciation in this game. Like, we really need a pronunciation guide, BioWare, please, just with the whole Gillenane versus Gillenan thing. And like, Solus in Inquisition calls her Gillenan, and then in this game, he's up here saying Gillenane, and I'm just thrown off. That's all.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, we got that it was Lucanus, but it's Lucanus. Everyone says Lucanus in the game.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the character creator, because I think this was a really anticipated part of the game. And I think it is amazing. The hair is so good beyond my wildest dreams. The eyebrows, amazing. Like, truly loved it. However, I think there has been a little bit of criticism in regard to skin tones. And while I think they are way better than they've ever been, I think that they definitely could still improve that a little bit. And I've also seen a lot of people complaining about the sliders, like the glute slider and the breast slider, not doing much, which I actually disagree with. No, you cannot be the skinniest character ever and have huge honkers. You can't. However, if you put a little meat on their bones and make them a little chunky, you can get large breasts and a large butt. So I think there may be some internalized fat phobia that we need to figure out among ourselves. And so it's true. You cannot make a super skinny with huge tits, huge ass kind of character. But as Austin and I have discussed, you know, breast tissue is fat. Mm-hmm. So people who are naturally very, very thin are not going to have large breasts. And those that do, that is not quote unquote typical. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that we've got to put a limitation on it somewhere, you know?
Right. And I think they are trying to get like realistic. The one thing that I have really in here, and this kind of changed with Inquisition a lot too, but like, I just don't think that elves should look like humans just with pointy ears. I think they should have defining face features.
Well, and I will say, I've seen a lot of rooks. We have a Share Your Rook channel in our server. And that's why I am at least of this opinion. I am still giving my elves big eyes, and I'm still giving them the flat nose bridge from DA2. So I'm still doing that, and I've seen a lot of people who are as well, and I'm not alone. So there's that at least.
Yeah. But I think that like what does this creator could do is, if you control this, you could make like a more realistic quote unquote half elf if you wanted to like role play that behind the scenes of your character or whatever, because for whatever reason you want to do that, with more defining features of both races versus like, you know, in lore it's just, oh, half elves just look like humans.
Yeah, I don't like that either, but we've discussed that elsewhere in the show. So anyway. Another thing I have to say about character creation is that why do so many characters look jaundiced?
I think it's just the lighting of like some of the yellowish tones in the skins. But if you go, especially a lot of people went for a warm skin tone. If you go for the warm skin tones, you have that more. But in the cooler skin tones, it's less.
Okay, good to know.
At least I understood that.
So did you catch the Sten reference with Tosh's side quest?
I don't think I caught it when we were talking about it.
So when you go to Ravane with Tosh, you can meet a Kunari person named Karash, and he is kind of like, he is a weather person. So like weather is his specialty. And the Antom basically hired him, though he's not part of the Antom, and he is defected from the Antom. So that's his situation. But they have a conversation because Tosh and their mom are like kind of taking care of him because he's very much on his own. And so Tasha's like you need to eat healthy, basically. And Karash is like, but I like the cookies better. And Tosh says, everyone likes the cookies better. And Karash says, I'll eat the fruit. It's just funny to me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're on the Kunari, so do you want to go to another point that you got there?
Yeah, so, and I don't want to talk about this in depth because it'll be spoilers, but just briefly, if you were one of the people who really wanted to see Kunari Warden lore, you got it in this game. You'll have to find the Codex entries, but just go to Ravane and you can find that.
Mm-hmm.
The Gray Warden.
Yes. Also, there is one point where as a Grey Warden, you can get a dialogue to basically say, like, let's not argue about who's the grayest warden. And that is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
It was pretty funny for sure. Another thing is that I only have really like 2 more things and then we can get into our mid-break. So first is that if you don't customize your Inquisitor, they are a female Lavellan, which is interesting. So just FYI, but I will say there are a few scenes with your Inquisitor. I've only done the first one and it was amazing. And my Inquisitor has never looked better. So I really enjoyed the Inquisitor appearance part of it.
Yeah, I did. And I did really enjoy that. It was nice to get the Inquisitor to not have the shiny skin that makes everyone look like they're sweaty. Moisturized. And the eyebrows, obviously, giving your Inquisitor like true eyebrows.
Well, there was like one good eyebrow option in Inquisition.
So we both did Lavellan Solus Mans for our Inquisitor because we wanted to see the update. But I think on my next playthrough, I will try more of my canon, which is so I have my first playthrough and I have my canon playthrough. My canon playthrough is a Cullen Mance, but my first playthrough is a Cassandra human Inquisitor. So I think I'm going to make that one too.
Okay. Plenty of new playthrough ideas. Mm-hmm. So the last thing I want to mention before we get into the mid-break is there was just a really funny moment and exchange that Austin and I had. The lyrium dagger has been, we've seen it for years actually. And so there was a scene with the lyrium dagger where you're using it, whatever. And there's also a codex from Dragon Age 2 that talks about the red lyrium idol was found with a red lyrium sword in the Deep Roads at the same time. And so we're sitting here playing the game and I say, hey, I wonder if the lyrium dagger is that lyrium sword from the codex entry with the lyrium idol. Literally 2 seconds later in game, Varric says, oh, the lyrium dagger is the red lyrium idol. I can tell. And so I'm like, okay, great.
Like, that's fine if that's what they want it to be, but I'm sorry. That thing looks nothing like what the lyrium idol from DA2 looks like.
Right, and I don't think it's supposed to. I think that he's just saying, like, because we do know that Solus got the idol. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't think it's supposed to be exactly the same. I think he's saying that Solus changed it into its current form.
Ah, I see.
But yeah, that was just a hilarious moment to me. It was just like the timing of this. Mm-hmm. But we can talk about Varric a little bit more after the mid-break.
Okay.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
The holiday season officially starts when you get that first card in the mail. Shutterfly makes it easy to add more meaning to the everyday with hundreds of holiday card designs that can be personalized in seconds with your favorite photos from this year. Select your greeting, customize the color, and even add little extras like personalized foil to make a holiday card that really shines. Enjoy 40% off with code SMILE40 at Shutterfly.com and send something meaningful this year. See site for more details.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack. and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
What is this? A new book? All this shit is weird. Oh, Verk, that is a terrible title. What are you even thinking?
That book you were reading this morning, Assyrian Spear. I don't think he had a spear in the legends.
He does in this one. Read the description.
Andraste knelt before no man but her maker. But she hadn't counted on the Archon Hessarian. Can Hessarian penetrate the tight-knit defenses of the warrior prophetess? Will she be prepared to face the full blast of his power? Wait a minute. Isabella, this is a vulgar thing.
You want to borrow it?
No!
You sure? It has pictures.
Not listening, I'm not listening.
Verk, does Hawk ever autograph books?
Why? Doesn't your copy of The Tale of the Champion have a big hole in it?
Yes, but it could also have Hawk's signature on it.
All right. Well, welcome to the middle of the show where we talk about all things regarding the podcast, but not the lore of Dragon Age. It's here where we thank our patrons. Thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you to our first patrons, Genesis and Lisa M. And also a special shout out to our new patrons. We've had 3 new patrons since our last episode. So we have Dale G, Ian L, and Dresden C. I hope I said that name right. If I didn't, I am sorry. So, if you want to support us on Patreon, you can do so by following the link in the episode description. You can also support us by leaving us ratings and reviews on Apple or Spotify. And so, we do have a comment to read. So if you leave us 5 stars and some kind words, we will read it out on a future episode of the show. So this comes from Loki Tricks 13, and it comes from one of our patron chat, which is, which character do you most want a cameo from in the Dragon Age the Veilguard? And they say, finally, all cut up just in time for the Veilguard. This is pretty much all I have listened to for the past few months while I worked. The cups are entertaining, informative, and clearly very passionate about Dragon Age. Glad I found you guys to fill the Dragon Age void while waiting for Veilguard, and looking forward to whatever comes next for the podcast. See you in Tevinter this Halloween. And we are so glad that the game is out, and I hope that you are really enjoying it. And then lastly, join the Discord, that's where we're talking about Veilguard. We've got a spoiler-free Veilguard channel, and we have a spoiler Veilguard channel, so you can discuss however you want. If you hop into that spoiler channel, you can discuss whatever you want. People know not to go in there if they don't want to be spoiled. So that's all I have for the middle of the show.
All right, well, let's get back into it.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase, list it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
The past years have been so busy. We have earned at least a few moments of rest. A calm night out sounds... Oh, bravo! Bravo! Was the woman in gold playing a king? Who was the man in feathers? Oh, it's all very simple. The first actor's mask is determined by... well, I will lend you the program guide. But tell me, did you enjoy the performance? That was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Truly. That part with the glittery and they actually set fire to... Yes, I truly enjoyed it. Then I call tonight a great success.
I've got some of it written down now.
Give it here. Her breasts strained against a leather jerkin like two wild stallions corralled against their will. She pounced, the smooth moves of a jungle cat, and locked her thighs around Donnick's waist. He...
What? Nothing. What is that? Shh.
Isabella just thought she'd celebrate your love affair with a written dedication.
It's friend fiction. I do it out of love.
I will never, ever be clean again.
You fear barbarians will swoop down upon you.
Yes, swooping is bad.
Okay, so there's not a ton I actually want to discuss in the second half of very spoilery content. But if you are still with us and you care about spoilers, this is your spoiler warning that we are about to get into it very heavily with stuff from the first act. So here is your warning now. Turn off the rest of the episode. Be gone. Thank you. Because I don't want y'all mad at me in my comments.
You heard her. She is not the one.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is cameos and characters that have come back. I know we literally just talked about this on our last patron chat, but just to confirm, here are some cameos that appear. Austin, you will have to remind me if there's any I've forgotten or don't know of yet. So we've got Maevaris Talani, who is, or was, I should say, a magister. Dorian Pavis, who is still a magister. Isabella, who is now basically the leader of the Lords of Fortune. Felasan from the Masked Empire. In a way, he does appear, though in the past, I should say. Viago and Taya and Katarina, both the three first Talons that we see at the end of Eight Little Talons. We've got Ilario, who is the cousin / brother of Lucanus, and not like in a weird way, but like in a they're cousins but were raised as brothers way. We have Strife and Ireland, apparently, not Ireland, as everyone thought, who appear in the... I can't even remember the title of this one, but it's the first chapter in Tevinter Nights. And then we have Evka and Antoine, who are Grey Wardens from Tevinter Nights, from short stories, etc. There are some more very spoilery ones that are... I don't want to talk about because I don't like it. And I also haven't gotten the conclusion of that. But let's just say it involves the Wardens.
Mm-hmm. And Harding's Quest.
And the Wardens and the Titans. And we'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so another thing I want to talk about is Varric. I know everybody said, oh my God, Varric got hurt in the trailer. Like, if Varric dies, I'm going to kill the Dread Wolf, blah, 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 blah. And then Varric's in the game. He's throughout the game. However, I have noticed something that is a trifle frightening, and that is that Varric does not talk to anyone other than Rook. None of the other companions talk to Varric. None of the other companions, except for like Harding, seem to even know him. Like Bellara, Austin, as you noticed, refers to him as Varric Tethras, the author. And there are several conversations where he appears with the party, but the party never addresses him or never looks at him, and they like don't react to the things that he is saying. Like, the conversation could have proceeded exactly the same way if Varric's dialogue or line did not occur. And there's specifically one in early game where Harding says something. Harding is in the room with Varric and Rook, and Harding like only speaks to Rook. It's very suspicious. And Soulless, when you're talking to him in the Fade, basically says something to the effect of like, I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but like, I'm sorry, I hurt Varric, basically. And it could be interpreted like, tell him I'm sorry, or like, I'm sorry that this happened. So
I don't have any comments on this point.
Oh, because you already know what's going to happen. I do. Okay, great.
I do know, and I just don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
So I don't have any comments, but it's a very, very, you're being very, very observant.
Okay, great. That's fucking horrible, and I hate it. Okay, so let's talk about the outside of main quests. There is number one quest that you absolutely have to do, and it is called The Regrets of the Dread Wolf. And if you care anything about the lore, you have to do it. And it is very confusing because you're exploring the crossroads and it's kind of a confusing area. But there are guides out there that aren't super spoilery. So definitely it is super important to do that one. And that's because there is a lot of fan theories that have been confirmed basically through this quest. And a lot of implications for Inquisition and for Veilguard from this quest, and we just get so much information about Solas's original war with the Evanurus.
Yes, it is a great quest, and it's kind of structured that you do it near the end game. But naturally, as the completionist we are, we finished it in Act 1.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a lot of people are finishing in Act 1, which makes sense because people see like Regrets of the Dread Wolf and all of us who have spent 10 years obsessing over Solas and his implications are like, okay, we got to do this right now so I can have all the answers.
Yeah, like everyone who's played Inquisition wants to know the information, and so it's going to do that as soon as possible. But some of the fights are hard.
Mm-hmm. And to get the conclusion, it's a pretty hard fight.
Yeah.
Potential fight.
Yeah, I guess. I didn't do that fight, so. But with that, I just want to talk about one thing, and it is spoilery, so if you haven't done it yet, turn it off. Turn the episode off. But basically, we get confirmation that all of the Evanurus were originally spirits, including Solas, and that Mythal basically convinced Solas to become physical, and that he regrets that. And it is a very powerful thing because it basically puts so many of his actions into a new light, especially his actions with Cole. And it makes his adamance that Cole should stay a spirit instead of becoming human, because Solas regrets becoming a real physical elf. And that's just sad to me.
Yeah. It is sad. And like, it's so sad to me because Cole gets so much joy from being real. And it's clear that Solas has none, which is part of circumstance too.
Well, I wouldn't say none, especially if the Inquisitor romanced him. But he just has a lot of regrets in life. And I understand, just because of all the things he's been through.
And he's just been complicit in a lot. And that's, I think, a lot of his regret.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the last thing I have to say is that Elgernon is freaking hot. And I don't know why they made him so attractive, but also his voice actor is probably the best in the game. Completely knocking it out of the park.
Right.
Him and Lucanus's voice actors are the two best for me.
I think that it's interesting to me that Elgernon, this is minor spoiler if you don't want to know anything about his appearance, he is not blighted, really. I mean, he has control over the blight, but he doesn't look blighted.
Not in the same way Gillenon does.
No, which I think is interesting.
It is interesting. And I mean, it's very obvious to me that Gillenon is completely out of control, completely unable to be reined in, unable to be rational with anything. Whereas Elgernon, he's still in control of his faculties. And something that does interest me is that he seems to care for her. And I haven't finished the game yet, so I'm not sure I could say why, but I find that an interesting kind of dynamic between the two of them.
I do think it's interesting the lore direction that they took, and again, this is a minor spoiler for this, but do you find it so interesting that Elgar'nan refers to Gillinan as sister?
Yes, I do. It's very interesting. Also, I'm still saying Gillinan accidentally.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I keep saying Lucanus, so.
Yeah, you've got to get that one fixed. But no, yeah, he does refer to her that way. And I think it's interesting because wouldn't she be more daughter? Like that would go with, I guess, what the Dalish have always thought about them. But as we've learned, pretty much every belief the Dalish have is wrong. Right. So.
But there's interesting moment. There's a moment where Solus is talking to pre-blighted Gillinan, and he basically says, "You who were like poised to have the most compassion amongst us," which kind of to me brings back credence to the idea that Gillinan began as not an Evanurus.
I agree. I think that the lore that Andruil basically brought her into the fold as an Evanurus is absolutely true, and to me that confirmed that theory. Well, not really theory, it's just backstory from Gillinan that came from codex entries, but there were multiple of, so we didn't know which one was true.
And just last thing I have to say before we can wrap up, or if you have another point to bring up, is just this: if you have been concerned about this game regarding like, oh, we're only going to get lore about 2 elven gods, 2 of the Evanurus. That is not true. There is mention and lore regarding the rest of them too.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot. We haven't gotten into it on the episode yet because it is pretty huge lore. We'll cover it in future episodes once the newness has worn off. But I do think that the lore for the Evanurus, I think, is focused around Elgar'nan, Gillinan, Fen'Harel, and Mythal. Which makes sense.
Yes, because that's who we're really dealing with. But there's a lot of payoff. There's a lot of interesting things. I highly recommend this game, especially if you're a huge Dragon Age fan. Now, if you're expecting a game that's a carbon copy of Origins, no, you're not going to get that. And, we've all said our piece about what we think about, the woke guard or whatever. But
the woke guard is like surprisingly not as woke as I thought it would be. Like,
exactly.
There's all this hype out there like, oh my God, it's the wokest thing ever. And I'm like, okay, there are a couple scenes with a non-binary character. Like, let's calm down, please.
Right.
Please.
And like, there are multiple people who are referred with they, them pronouns in the game.
Who else?
NPCs.
Okay. I'm like, I don't remember that. But yeah, no, I think it's a great game, and I think it's a really good follow-up to Inquisition. I'm not sure if there are some things that I'm not too keen on, like especially in Act 1. I think you can see there's some cringiness in the dialogue, the banter especially. Absolutely. But like the main story writing is phenomenal.
Right.
The main quest line absolutely knocked it out of the park. The writing on the Dread Wolf quest, absolutely amazing. The writing that I have seen people complain about, and like not just people, but like the things that I think are really maybe not quote unquote the best and not even up to par with some of the other games, is the banter. And there is still some really funny banter. Like there are some hilarious things that I've already gotten for our mid-break sounds, especially between Lucanus and Emmerich. But I think also part of it is just like we've had this game for a week. We haven't heard it all yet, And so I definitely think there are iconic lines that are going to rival some of the other ones.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I will say that this game, as far as like riding with the companions and, storyline, feels very Mass Effect 2.
Yes.
Like, it is very Mass Effect 2. It is very, like, I think it's a good marriage between Dragon Age 2 and Mass Effect 2. And I just want to tell people, like, if you're really caring about this game and the lore, get ready to get your heart broken.
Yeah.
Because the theme of this game is regret.
It sucks.
It's regret.
Life sucks for everyone.
Yes. And it twists the knife in your heart that even I felt sad at a character death that happened of someone I hated.
Who?
The First Warden.
Oh, I didn't give a shit about that fucking bitch.
No.
All my homies hate the First Warden.
Yeah, that's fine. But like even the way they did that like was a way of like, oh, this is really like, this is hurting everyone. And there's a moment with him where you just realize like he's wrong, but he is trying to do what he thinks is right.
Yeah, that's fair. And I also think this game has really delivered on answering the questions that we have after Inquisition. Absolutely 100%. I think this game has great graphics. I think it's really stepped up the game in terms of character creator. And I think it's delivered on companions. That while there may be a few things that I'm like, okay, I wish that was better, especially in regard to the romances. However, I think they have learned their lessons from the previous games, specifically with Inquisition. Like, this game is not bloated. This game does not have unnecessary fetch quests. Like, everything ties together. Everything is really well polished. And honestly, with the state of AAA games in the modern era, I was expecting a whole lot more bugs than we've had. There have been remarkably few bugs. I've had one bug, and no one we know in the Discord really has complained about anything game breaking, which is truly, truly rare for AAA games today.
Right. Even independent studios like Larian and their Baldur's Gate had a ton of potential game breaking bugs that happen.
Yeah, and I do think that Baldur's Gate is a little bit different because they had the early access period. Mm-hmm. But I just look at like, you know, the Jedi Survivor games and some of the other things that have come out recently with just game breaking stuff and
come out of EA.
I mean, Ubisoft too. Mm-hmm. Like, there are still game breaking bugs with Unity that haven't ever been patched.
That is true.
So, I mean,
most of the Unity ones have been patched.
Okay, still, it took a really long time. For the state of AAA gaming, this game, top of the ballpark.
Right. And like, I've seen people complaining about like, this is just a hack and slash, like it's button mashing of what you're doing. But like, if you really take the time to learn the combat, which it's not spoon fed to you.
It's not easy.
And you have to read and learn, but there are a lot of little tips and hints. The only thing that I would change is I want the dodge meter or dodge indicator to be a little more blaring at me.
I don't care about that. What I want is for the open box and jump buttons to be different.
Yes. Or the, I cannot tell you how many times I've fallen off something because I was trying to open, or I jumped incorrectly because I opened something instead.
Yeah. With that, I think we can wrap it up. But overall, it's a really phenomenal game. And if you were waiting to get it and you care about the lore, you liked Inquisition, I definitely think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. So thanks for putting this together. Thanks to all of you who listen to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at DA Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions, topics to unpack, or side character suggestions, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's easily the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. You can find us there on patreon.com/Dragon Age Lorecast.
The Dragon Age Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Are you a fan of Indiana Jones? How about someone who just enjoys an immersive story of historical fiction? If so, then the Indiana Jones Lorecast is the place for you. Join me, Sir Bandit, as we delve into the amazing and rich history of the Indiana Jones franchise. from the films and TV series to the novels, comics, and games. The show is available wherever you get your podcasts, so if you feel that call to adventure, you can come find me in my office. I'll see you there.